This was Malaysia's national debt 10 years ago. And this is where it stands today, at a whopping 1.5 trillion ringgit. But what exactly makes this debt so troubling? And what can be done about it?
Just like businesses, governments get loans from the private sector, other governments or institutions like the World Bank to finance their spending. And sometimes, unlike businesses, governments print their own money, essentially borrowing from their own central banks.
15 years ago, Malaysia's debt was below 40% of GDP. Frankly, that's the last time that it was that low. Malaysia's government has been borrowing more and more money over the years.
And partly thanks to the pandemic, the national debt has nearly doubled from 686 billion ringgit in 2017 to 1.1 trillion ringgit in 6 years. But there's also something called government liabilities, or non-loan financing owed to creditors. Add that to the mix, and the debt climbs up to 1.5 trillion ringgit. That's the equivalent of building 167 Petronas Twin Towers, or giving 33 million Malaysians 45,000 ringgit each.
But it's not just the value of the debt that's alarming.
It's how Malaysia is paying it off. Malaysia has been borrowing money to pay off older debts. That is what happened in 2021 when the government used 114 billion ringgit out of 217 billion ringgit in new debt just to pay off mature loans, excluding interest. That's more than 50% of all its loans last year. As the old Malay proverb goes, this is just like digging a hole to cover up another hole. And paying off the debt with other sources, especially with tax revenue, isn't that simple either.
Malaysia's notorious for having a small tax-paying population. Petronas usually fills in the revenue gaps with petroleum taxes and dividends. But volatile oil prices mean that Petronas can't be a cash cow forever, and the global economic environment isn't heading in Malaysia's favour either. Less demand for Malaysian exports equals less income, and interest rate hikes will bump up the total owed to creditors.
So what now?
The good news: policymakers have ideas on how to tackle the debt. You might even have heard some of them in the latest budget. The bad news: these ideas don't go far enough. Effectively tackling the debt requires a fundamental shift in government spending and revenue generation. What exactly will Malaysia's fate be if income stagnate and it can't keep its debt in check? Will it be the next Sri Lanka, years down the road? It's not impossible.
Secara general, bukan saja Malaysia boleh jadi macam Sri Lanka, there's many more negara dalam dunia boleh jadi macam Sri Lanka if they are not careful.
Here's the thing though, if we spend more and more money repaying creditors, that means that we just have less money for growing the economy. In turn, that means less money for making the rakyat's lives better. And then finally, we'll just have less money to secure our future. That is for sure a very worrying thing. Hannah Kam, FMT News.